Hola a todos, hoy estamos con un nuevo video, una nueva video reacción. Este es un video impresionante, otro video del Cajón Retro, de Damián, un canal que está teniendo la oportunidad y tuvo la oportunidad de tener una entrevista increíble con una persona increíble que marcó un antes y después, no solo en los videojuegos, sino generó también un inicio de los first person shooter, que fue un género bastante popular y que hasta el día de hoy tiene ahí un nicho bastante grande, por así decirlo, y a mí me encanta. Soy muy fanático de los first person shooter. Estamos hablando ni más ni menos que John Romero, el creador de Doom, entre otras personas. Pero vamos a ver qué sale. Es una entrevista larga y quiero ver cómo está John Romero 2025, porque hay muchas fotos que muestra a John Romero joven, hay algunas que otras imágenes, pero la experiencia esta la vivió Damián y es alucinante. Para mí, repito, John Romero marcó un antes y después, o sea, haber dado la sensación o haber dado la idea de un juego 3D, cosa que no era 3D, con el tiempo nos empezamos a dar cuenta, se empezó a detallar un poco más las cosas, era un efecto que daba tridimensionalidad, pero fue algo alucinante. Lo que yo me acuerdo es de que necesitabas una buena PC, entre comillas, pero con alguna PC medio pelo tenías suerte, podías ejecutar el Doom, el Quake ya un poco más exigente. El Doom se podía correr un poco lento, pero se podía jugar por la desesperación de esa generación gamer que querían jugar al Doom a toda costa. Yo tengo varios Doom descargados. Hay una pregunta que se me ocurrió mucho después, pero bueno, la versión shareware, después lo voy a contar más adelante. Tengo varias versiones de Doom. Algunas que se ejecutan en Flash con SWF, que es un portable. Hay versiones portables, están las diferentes versiones con actualizaciones y parches para los diferentes sistemas operativos. Bueno, así que soy bastante fanático. También tengo una versión HTML de Doom, la que permite correrlo mediante un index, pero bueno, eso ya es algo más de la comunidad lo que ha logrado. Y bueno, el Doom es el clásico juego que se puede usar en cualquier lado. Lo usaron en test de embarazo, así que hace un par de meses hicieron el Doom en TXT, o sea, en blog de notas. Así que es un juego alucinante que directamente, aparte de ser un juego increíble, es un juego que se puede jugar de manera sencilla, entre comillas. Yo creo que por el código fuente y todo el avance de la comunidad. Bueno, vamos a arrancar con el video.
Los videojuegos, fuente de entretenimiento, de bronca, de desafíos, de relaciones, ¿por qué no? Muchos han encontrado amigos, han encontrado pareja. En fin, los videojuegos son algo que ha evolucionado enormemente desde sus humildes comienzos. Pero en los años 90 una revolución sacudió la industria. Y te voy a nombrar dos grandes títulos, Wolfenstein 3D y Doom, que no solo redefinieron lo que significaba jugar, sino que también establecieron los cimientos de un género que hoy llamamos First Person Shooter o FPS, género que sin él el gaming moderno definitivamente no sería lo mismo. Por eso hoy quiero invitarte no a una reseña específica sobre estos dos juegos, sino a algo mucho más interesante. Para muchos de nosotros el videojuego Doom ha sido y sigue siendo emblemático. A mí me tocó conocer el Doom con 7 años y lo jugaba en mi vieja computadora 486 y recuerdo cuando vi esa suerte de entorno 3D en el que tenías un arma en el medio de la pantalla, la cara de tu personaje que te mostraba si estaba enojado, si estaba dañado, los monstruos, una cosa impresionante. Y ese fue el nacimiento de una franquicia que hoy día sigue haciendo juegos modernos. Pero no me quiero poner yo a hacer una reseña sobre estos dos juegos. Para poner una línea de tiempo y sentar las bases de lo que sigue del video, lo único que voy a decir es que Wolfenstein 3D fue lanzado al mercado en 1992, Doom fue lanzado al mercado en 1993 y ambos juegos patearon el tablero de lo que hasta ese momento se conocía en el gaming. Y como dije, para salirme de Damián haciendo una reseña, este video viene cargado, pero cargado de fuerza, porque vamos a hablar con John Romero, co-creadores de estas dos maravillas que te mencioné y muchos otros juegos más. La verdad es que teniendo la oportunidad de hablar con una leyenda como John Romero, me gustaría conocer un poco de su historia personal, cómo conoció el mundo del gaming, cómo se puso a desarrollar juegos, a qué edad, qué expectativas tenía cuando hizo su primer juego, si pensaba que se iba a convertir en un boom como lo terminó siendo, y bueno, muchas otras cuestiones interesantes que solo tienen un sabor especial cuando están contadas por el protagonista principal de la historia. Sinceramente, amigos, como gamer que soy, nunca pensé que iba a tener la oportunidad de ser host de una entrevista con una figura como John Romero. Así es que si en lo que viene me escuchan un poquito nervioso es porque realmente tengo un nudo en el estómago. Aprovecho para agradecerles a los miembros de la comunidad que enviaron sus preguntas para que yo les comparta a John a través de Instagram, así que muchas gracias. Varias de esas preguntas se las voy a hacer en este video a John. Dicho sea de paso, si no sos parte de la comunidad, súmate a Instagram, que es la manera más fácil en la que podemos interactuar. Y no quiero aburrirlos más, vamos a pasar a los bifes, a lo importante. Si no me conoces, mi nombre es Damián, esto es el Cajón Retro. Y para los que me conocen, gracias por estar, amigos, ya se la saben, acompáñenme. Alright, my friend. Here we are, guys. We have John Romero.
Mirá.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very good.
Mirá John Romero, con toda la esencia, con toda la magia, boludo. Qué impresionante. Se lo ve re feliz. Tienen esa presencia de desarrollador icónico. Nada, increíble. Una locura esto.
Very good. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So for the people watching this video, it's Sunday. It's 5:30 p.m. for me. What is 9:30 p.m. for you, right?
10:30. Yeah.
10:30. Well,
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. It's an opportunity and honor for me. I was working on the introduction of this video and sharing it with the audience, right? Doom. And I'll start talking about Doom, right? Because that's how I knew about you. I didn't have let me start saying this. I didn't have a close relation with my father, but you know, it's interesting. I have a lot of memories playing Doom with him when I was a kid. It's interesting how there's a lot behind video games, right, for some people. But okay.
Lo que dice también está interesante porque date cuenta que los videojuegos es un cable a tierra, te hace olvidar problemas, situaciones de la vida. Los videojuegos tienen esa parte muy esencial de lo que es lo sano, ¿no? de los videojuegos. Después está la parte, bueno, ya si genera o no genera violencia, adicción. Eso depende de cada uno, mentalmente cómo lo controle, pero la verdad que dijo Damián es increíble. Recordar una sensación más, el Doom, ¿quién lo puede olvidar? O sea, una generación Z, una alfa, una de cristal, está ahí. Pero nosotros vivimos una generación de los 90, es alucinante. Yo este juego no lo jugué. En su momento no era PC gamer, era consolero. Lo pude probar ahí entre 2002 y 2006. Cuando jugué también el Quake 2. Es un juego bastante difícil. Vi personas que esquivan y todo, es una locura, es alucinante, pero increíble lo que dijo recién también, que recuerda un juego por encima de cualquier otras cosas de la edad que tiene uno en ese momento, ¿no?
Let's start breaking the ice, and if you want to introduce yourself, who you are, who we are talking with.
I am a game developer. I started as a programmer. I still code. And then, you know, game design, level design, audio design, you name it, production, you know, like pretty much everything. I've started 10 companies, and been making games since 1979.
Since 79. How old were you in the 79?
11.
11 years old? Hold on. And you started developing games at 11 years old. Man, that makes me feel bad, because at 11 years old, I don't know. Man, I don't know what I was doing, but pretty sure not even close to do something smart.
Yeah, I think it was because, I mean, games were such a huge part of my life back then. And then I got this opportunity to, like, be on a computer for the first time. It wasn't even a home computer. It was, you know, it's a big mainframe at a college. But I found out that you can actually make games on it. and that's what got me very excited. And I saw Colossal Cave Adventure, which is, which was a classic adventure game. It was the classic adventure game. So I was just, maybe I can make something like that. So my first game was an adventure game, just kind of emulating what a Colossal Cave was like.
So I love that, to start getting some context here. So you were 11. There was a computer you said in the school, right?
University.
In the university. Okay, but hold on. Okay, you were in the
I was 11.
You were 11 and already on the university? No.
No, I went there in the summertime. I wasn't supposed to be there.
Okay, so you were taking advantage. You were taking advantage of free resources, let's say.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yep.
okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. And what was the? Do you remember the top 3 games on the back in the 79s?
You mean like what kind? You mean video games or?
Yeah. What kind of video games were in the market? Because if we talk today, people will say, "Oh, Call of Duty, Minecraft, that stuff," right?
Yeah, Space Invaders was the #1 game, and
Space
in
Invaders.
79 that was Asteroids that just came out.
Como buen gamer retro,
That was
Space
even
Invaders.
better than Space Invaders, which was #2, and also Galaxian,
Galaxian.
which was the very
Galaxian was-
first color arcade game.
That's pretty cool, man. I have a Space
Yeah.
Invaders arcade right here next to me.
Oh wow!
So we have you at 11 years old, playing video games at the college. And when you started developing, was it in your house or also in the college, the university?
It was at the university. I started learning how to program while I was there, so I just went every day and just was doing more and more programming. We didn't get a computer in the home for about 3 years after that, so my development was going to computer stores where they sold computers that would go in your home, and I would get on those computers and I would program on those computers, and those were like TRS-80. I would program those at Radio Shack. The Apple IIs were at a store really close to that Radio Shack called Capital Computers, until in 1980 the college opened up an Apple II room right next to that mainframe room. So then I just went over there all the time as well, if the college was open. If not, then I would go to the computer store in town. It was actually the next town over, so it took me a long time to get there because there was no road connecting them. So it took a long time to like ride my bike all the way to the next town.
Man, that's pretty awesome. Were your parents supporting you?
They didn't care really. It was like it's too weird of a thing, you know.
That's why I'm asking, because I'm guessing back in the 70s, computers and video games were like, I mean, today it's a common word, right? It's everywhere.
Era un nicho
but in
también.
the 70s,
Tenía que tener mucha cabeza.
I guess. So it was not
Oh
that
yeah,
common.
no one had a computer. Yeah, in the
Right.
70s, people really didn't have computers at home. It started in the 80s, in the early 80s.
Bueno,
So I think, you know,
hay
like
que creer una cosa, que la gente que sí tenía computadora de plata, hay un detalle ahí, la gente no tenía acceso a monetariamente, no podía. Las computadoras eran solo para empresas, para unas personas muy nerd, con mucha capacidad como para intentar desarrollar o meterse en ese mundo de informática. O sea, después se empezó a ampliar el espectro de la capacidad de las personas, ¿no? Pero había gente con computadoras, pero era gente de mucho dinero.
we got a computer in 1982, so that was still really early because computers for homes had just emerged in 1977 for the first time. So this is 5 years later, but it was still very early. This is before the IBM came, the PC. It was before the Commodore 64.
La Amiga.
You know, it was really early. The Atari 800 came out in 1979. So when I started to program was when the Atari 800 computer came out. And the Apple II had been out for 2 years already. So it was still very, very early. So I only knew one other person with a computer at home. And he had an Atari 800 when we got the Apple II.
Man, that's so crazy. And Because you weren't taking classes to learn how to program. So who was teaching you?
Te mandas solo.
I was teaching myself.
Te mandas solo.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, I just got a book. Yeah, the manual that comes with a computer.
Es lo que siempre digo, cuando vos tenés una pasión y tenés unas ganas de hacer algo, no hay alguien que te enseñe, hay algo que te genera que vos te impulses a hacerlo. Es como si estás encerrado en una habitación y no sabes cómo salir, no tenés herramientas, siempre buscas una manera, ¿no? Ahí divide las personas que son capaces o incapaces. Es impresionante lo que es John Romero.
Computer that has like how to program in BASIC usually, like
In
really
BASIC.
simple ways of teaching you. So I was just basically reading that and just playing around trying to make stuff.
That's a bit more crazy, man. And what was the first game you have programmed?
The first thing I tried to make was called Crazy Climber when I got the computer at home.
Crazy Climber.
I honestly
Crazy-
thought that was just a rumor, but it's true
What?
about Crazy
was
Climber. Because I saw videos on YouTube saying there are rumors out there saying he programmed something like Crazy Climber, but I couldn't find any fact. So it's a fact. You did it.
Yeah, it was the first program that I wrote on the Apple II, and it was in low res, so it was only 40 pixels by 40 pixels.
Nada.
Because in the arcade, one of my favorite games in the arcade was Crazy Climber. So I was trying to make my own on my computer at home, and it was funny because there was some aspect of programming that I didn't know yet, which was basically variables. So I still hadn't like really used variables. So when I was programming the Crazy Climber game, there was a point where I learned about variables and was like, I need to rewrite this whole thing.
Claro.
And so I started rewriting it, but then somehow I deleted it on my disk because I was just new to using disks,
Ooh.
in a disk drive.
Yeah.
So I accidentally deleted it. So I don't have that first program.
Los Media.
Oh man.
Los
I
Media.
know. I have my second one and everything past that, but not the first one.
Oh, that's crazy. That's interesting, man. And how was the experience programming on these early computers and early stages of computers? I would say
man.
compared to what is today.
Well, compared to what else you were doing, it was
Okay.
incredible. I mean, you couldn't create on a machine. Like, unless you were programming, there was no creation of anything.
Right.
So learning how to program was the way to create. And then it was like, what else do I need to learn? I need to learn more stuff, especially with games.
Claro, programar es crear, siempre y cuando estemos hablando de que el desarrollador use todo contenido propio, porque después vino la generación de desarrolladores que utilizaban cosas creadas por otros desarrolladores o por una comunidad, como ha pasado, que hubo mucha polémica en algunos mods de Doom y otros juegos, y después algunos novatos que se meten en esto del mundo del desarrollo utilizando programas con archivos ya predeterminados como sonidos, otras cosas. Esto se hacía de cero. O sea, todo. Era una locura.
If I didn't have games as a driver for my learning, I would not have learned assembly language, when I learned it.
Assembly.
Which was, at the very end of 1982. It would have been like, well, what do I need that for? I can make a huge spreadsheet program in BASIC or something. That would have been dumb, but it would have been doable. And but I did. I because of speed, I needed to learn. I needed to learn assembly language, which is like the language that the actual chip runs. It's just a bunch of numbers, and so I needed to learn that. It turns assembly language is like 3 letters and some other information, but then that turns into actual numbers called machine code, and machine code is what the CPU executes. So I needed to learn that. So I did. I learned it. Probably a week before we moved to England, and when we moved, they took the computer away for half a year. So I just learned the new language that I needed to understand, and I couldn't use it because they took the computer away.
Oh man, what a pain!
I was writing all of my stuff on paper, so I have notebooks full of
Muy
assembly language
bien.
code, hoping that when the computer comes, I can enter all the stuff.
So you were just writing down on paper, hoping to
Claro.
test it someday in the future.
Yeah.
Bien.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. No. So, again, for context, right? When did you... I mean, I'm assuming you saw something on the gaming industry. Because today for us, it's easy. Gaming, it's a world. It's something. But back in the 70s, the 80s, what triggered you, or what was the idea, the concept that triggered your mindset saying, man, gaming industry is going to be big. I need to get into this. Did that happen?
Well, I think I didn't think about that. I didn't think like, oh, this is gonna get really big. I already saw it getting big. Like it was, it was like a fact. There's no reason to say anything about it. It was like,
Cuando lo desarrollé es porque yo tengo experiencia, no desarrollo si no estuve en contacto con el mundo. Yo soy más ideólogo de ideas, otros aspectos. Soy también más beta tester, tengo alguna experiencia con algunos juegos que están publicados. Cuando el desarrollador tiene idea del mercado, es importante, es lo que yo defino como, es mi concepto no propio, sino pensando en la existencia, ¿no? Que un gamer no es aquel que sabe jugar, bla, bla. Es aquel que tiene conocimiento en la mayoría de los videojuegos existenciales en el mercado. Sabe los géneros, los tipos, las mecánicas, las dinámicas, el estilo 2D, 2.5, 3D. Tenés todo un mundo ya armado, ¿viste? Cuando una persona con esa capacidad y esa conciencia de lo que sabe, lo que repito, un gamer es, bajo mi concepto, empático con otras personas, es aquel que tiene conocimiento de la existencia, de lo que es el mundo gamer, etc. Si uno llega a desarrollar con esa conciencia, sabe lo que está creando, está muy bueno, sabiendo lo que hay a comparación o lo que no se creó, se puede hacer un juego en plataforma 2D, pero con cosas muy diferentes de lo que existe. Cuando el desarrollador tiene conocimiento sobre eso, sabe que puede llegar a cambiar un poco un estilo de un género. Entonces, Romero estaba como proyectándose un poco más allá del aburrimiento, de lo que existía, viendo un juego y diciendo, hey, ¿por qué no hicieron esto, por qué no cambiaron las cosas? Entonces uno se manda y lo hace. Hay otros desarrolladores que creen que lo que está bien, cuando le falta esa conciencia de la existencia del mundo gaming. Y en esa época no había mucho para abarcar, así que John Romero tenía como una vía libre bastante grande. El tema eran las limitaciones de esas computadoras. Por eso lo que hizo John Romero de hacer un juego que parecía 3D y no lo era, fue algo revolucionario. Hasta el mismo Bill Gates quedó alucinado, y más adelante vamos a ver algo referido a eso.
these three computers started the industry, and then by like 1984, there were so many computers that most of them died off. There were so many. There was a glut of computers in 1984. The Apple II and the Commodore 64 and the Atari and the PC were the main computers that lasted until about the end of the 80s, and then the PC won. The PC kept going, and the others just died. And you know, there was the Atari ST and the Amiga, but those also died just within 5 years or so. But it was a PC that just like lived through it because it went 16-bit, and the others were still 8-bit computers. So I just knew, looking at the fact that there are these other computers and people are starting to make games on all of these computers. These computers all had different types of games. It wasn't like today where you might make a game and you'll see it on every platform that exists very quickly. That was actually kind of rare back then. The majority of games on a system, like on a different computer, were made only for that computer. And so they had a completely different design style, a different vibe. They all looked different than another computer. So you know, it was pretty great because games had different people, different designers, different aesthetics based off of the
Increíble.
ecosystem of games that were on that system. So they evolved their own style
Claro, el
of game.
estilo, la
Even though
evolución.
there were, you know, genres were just starting to begin back in the early 80s, there was still a whole lot of, like, just try all kinds of stuff that had no genre. There was no genre for it. It was just like, just crazy stuff. But it was really great to just see that, because I did look at all the computers. I wasn't just stuck on the Apple II. I was looking at the Commodore, playing games on the Commodore and all that, and on the Atari. PC just didn't have anything on it. It was no good, like, for games. It was so primitive.
Sí.
The early hardware wasn't made for games, like the Commodore and the Atari. They were made for games, so they had a really good game hardware on it. Fortunately and unfortunately, I had the Apple II, which forced me to get really good at programming to make anything good as a game, because you had to.
O sea, nos estamos dando cuenta que gracias a Steve Jobs existe Romero, porque la descubrió, es como una unión entre los dos. Y gracias a Steve Jobs pudo tener una evolución mental de desarrollo para crear el Doom. Una locura. Va, el Doom y el Wolfenstein, ¿no?
You had to write all your code to put the dots on the screen, where the other computers had sprites. They were just hardware would put them up, so it was so much easier. So the Apple II forced me to get really good at programming to make my games go fast. And
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
And I assume you still have copies of the very initial games you have done, right?
Yeah. What we're doing, it's been happening pretty slowly, but I'm putting together this big box that we're going to sell on our site. This is called the Early Years, and it basically is like all of the games that I wrote from my earliest games all the way through all the 80s until id Software, basically.
When is that going to the market? Because I want one.
I don't have a date on it, but I've been slowly working on it in the background. But it's like you're going to basically just be able to double click, you'll be able to double click and just run a game. And it'll be an Apple II emulator that's running and playing it. Yeah. Because they're
Increíble.
And where people can be aware and follow the progress of the project?
Not posting progress, but Romero.com is where all of our merch shows
Perfect.
up. Like, that's our games and everything.
Excellent.
So right now, like, the latest thing that we put out was Catacomb 3D, which was the first first-person shooter that we made in 1991 with texture map walls for the first time and everything.
I was going there next.
Yeah. And there's a documentary on there that I interviewed John Carmack and Adrian Carmack and Tom Hall and put together about a half-hour documentary about the creation of that game, which only took 2 months. So we did a lot of stuff in 2 months. But it was like it's a really fun documentary to watch, because we totally are 100% talking about Catacomb and all the stuff that happened during Catacomb 3D, because we're making other games at the same time.
I love it. And you guys have done Catacomb 3D when working on soft disk, or not?
We were making it for soft disk, but we weren't at soft disk. This is a year later. So 1991, we left soft disk on January 31st of 91 and started id Software full time on February 1st of 1991. And then we were not going into soft disk, but we were making games just for soft disk at that time to keep doing what we were doing, but in our own office and building up our own engine and all of the code and tools all around it, so we could start making our own games eventually, which started I think in June of that year. That's when we started to make our own, like, next set of Commander Keen games.
Commander Keen. So help me again with that timeline, right? So that was a year later after soft disk. So it was Catacomb 3D part of or under id Software, or not yet?
It was a soft disk game made by id Software, because we were separate companies.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, and the timeline in 1991 is really insane. And I have it actually on an image of the entire timeline, because we made 13 games that year. So they are overlapping each other and everything, but every single start and end of every game is on this chart that I have.
Yeah, it's crazy because in order to be ready for this interview, I was doing a lot of research,
Sí,
right?
Damián.
And I found some timelines, and I was like,
Damián se puso a full, ¿viste? Vamos a entrevistar ni más ni menos que John Karma, voy a tener que estudiar. ¿Qué dice ahí? Big Blue. ¿Qué dice? Alfredo. Rescue Rover. Che, ¿qué más dice ahí? Hawken. Ah, no, Overtank. Dangerous Dave. Oh, mira, Dangerous Dave. Oh, el Dangerous Dave es un juegazo. Bueno, Commander King. The Catacomb. Y después viene la locura de Wolfenstein.
no.
Dice, no, dijo
What
Damián.
was that? Yeah, there's no way I can memorize this, so I will.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I will just go ahead with the
Nah,
chat.
tampoco es tan difícil.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, man. So we have Catacomb 3D, and that was because people talk a lot about Doom, right? Including myself, of
Yeah.
course. To
Yeah,
me,
no.
and we will get into that. But I mean, Catacomb 3D was the first real first-person shooter, the one that brought the concept, right, of that
Yeah,
3D shaping style. So why people isn't talking about Catacomb 3D? What do you think about that?
Well, it was a pretty limited game, like as far as what you could do in it, and it did have some issues when you're turning. It didn't look as good as Wolfenstein when you're turning. So it was like the first person concept was there, the texture mapped walls were there,
So,
the movement was the first. Well, it was like the first iteration of a person going through a dungeon. The game we made just before that, actually it was like a half a year before that, was called Hover Tank 3D, or Hover Tank 1, sorry. It's called Hover Tank 1, and that game was our very first, FPS. It was first person, that had a tank gun out.
Claro, la primera sensación, el primer estilo, la primera mecánica, no sé cómo tratar de explicarlo. El primer como concepto de género es una locura.
But it was the very first one. It was really not great.
Está perfecto.
We made it in 2 months, but Catacomb 3D was way better, but still not there yet. It was still first person, and you're shooting fireballs. And there was some pretty cool technology in that game we didn't put in Wolfenstein for some reason, like animating walls and stuff. I don't know why we didn't do that.
No sé por qué.
But it was still the very
Qué
first
loco
thing.
eso.
Wolfenstein was us going into VGA
No,
mode,
vea.
digital sound effects, much better movement, much better camera angles. Yeah, it was way more refined, and then Doom was like way more refined than Wolfenstein.
Claro.
But Catacomb 3D was like that was the beginning of. It was the reason why we made Wolfenstein. If we didn't make Catacomb 3D, Wolfenstein would not have happened. Because I remember, we were making Commander King at the beginning of 1992, and one night I was just like, we shouldn't be doing this. Like, we just made a 3D game that no one's
Sin
seen before,
precedentes.
like, that has texture mapped walls and stuff, and I know that we can make something even cooler from that viewpoint. With a better engine, working on it even longer, we should be doing that, not going back to 2D. That's old. That's old stuff.
And I like that. I was planning to ask you because let's go back to the 1991, right? Everyone was thinking on platform, up, down, right, left, simple. So how did you get that idea, the concept? I mean, what were you doing when you thought, what if we add dimension to the screen? How would that happen? Because it's a new mindset, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, there were 3D games in the arcade, like Red Baron and Battlezone.
Bueno, Battlezone.
You know, there was
Battlezone.
a Star Wars arcade game. They're all lines.
Ojo.
You know, there weren't enough.
Ojo. Yo no sé si considerarlo 3D, porque acá hay un pequeño problema. Son videojuegos vectoriales. Los vectores tenían esa como aspecto, imagen. No sé si realmente tomarlo como 3D porque es pantalla negra con colores azules y rojos, algunos que otros tonos de verde, color cian como se ve el puntero. El entorno 3D es todo, es la pared, como se ve acá atrás, es todo. O sea, no sé si el vectorial realmente sería una dimensión tridimensional, pero bueno, es un tema eso.
Solid walls or
Yeah,
anything. But
vectors.
they were,
Claro.
yeah, they're just vector graphics. But it was like that was 3D, you know. And
Right.
so when there were also in the 80s, all through the 80s, you know, culminating in probably 1987's Dungeon Master, texture mapped walls, but it was just
Claro,
like you'd
es lo que
be
estoy
in a
diciendo yo.
fixed position and then you would move forward a block, you know.
Right.
And it would do it real slowly, like do, like oh, it's so crazy, you know. And so it was like we need to do that fast and smooth.
Claro.
That was like so
Fluido.
the idea of having 3D had been in games for a long time, but it had never been like real time.
En real time.
Except that there was a game in 1982 called Way Out. It's one word, made by Paul Edelstein, and it was 3D. And it was super smooth moving, and it had solid filled walls, so you could totally move in it like you could move in Wolfenstein, you know. And this was on Atari and Apple II and stuff. So it was the only game that ever did that, and that was.
Bueno, el juego de Paul también podría haber sido. Pasa que acá viene otro tema también. Lo que hizo Paul fue el típico juego de laberinto. El laberinto tiene que tener paredes. Tenés que chocarte. No, es como un juego laberíntico. Laberinto. No va el concepto de lo. Se pudo haber inspirado un poco Romero y Carmack y otras personas más en el concepto laberíntico y poner un first person shooter. Después empezaron a hacer como el Quake 2 o el Quake, un poquito más abierto. El Doom era tipo laberíntico, pero bueno, son los inicios, no igual que Wolfenstein. Pero es como que pasó de un juego laberíntico en primera persona a un juego de ahí, un first person shooter, y después toda la evolución de los first person shooter.
It was doable on an 8-bit computer smoothly and at a good frame rate. You know, it was like you can do it. We need to do that as well. And that's where John Carmack, he wanted to get into 3D at the beginning of 1991. So, you know, we're making so much stuff, but finally he wanted to make Hover Tank. You know, it's like he wants to make his first 3D game. So we're like, all right, let's do this. And so he worked so hard those two months to write that engine. You know, the game itself was nothing. Like writing that code was like one day. Right. But it was like the engine was so hard to write to get into 3D for the first time and to do it at a high frame rate. You know, EGA is a crazy video mode on the PC, 16 color mode. You know, VGA was much easier to do. Like with Wolfenstein, it was actually easier to program that.
That's awesome.
Increíble.
And let's go back to Wolfenstein 3D, right? You guys complete the development. The game is out there. When you guys realized about the impact of the game in the consumers?
It was instantly. I mean, it was pretty instant. Like we knew we were getting updates from Scott Miller, who was our publisher, and I mean, it was.
Ahí viene un tema importante del desarrollo de juegos, un publisher. Yo he conocido muchos desarrolladores a lo largo de mi vida. No tuvieron publisher. Empezaron mucho con Kickstarter. Es más, están ahí todavía están los Kickstarter parados en el tiempo, diciendo financiación cancelada o bla bla bla. Cancelada, no lograda, y después aparece el juego en Steam. con un publisher. Y en los comentarios de muchos Kickstarter decían, el juego se cancela, no vamos a hacer más nada, bla bla bla, y después con el tiempo aparece un publisher y el juego revive. O sea, es muy importante un publisher, obviamente.
We knew it was going to be so big, even before we released it, because we had
unique.
Yeah, we had them coming to our office. I mean, I was laughing on the floor when we, started chain head screams and stuff,
esa palabra.
chain gun sound and everything. No game had ever done that before. No game was that violent. Like, it was the ultimate violent game ever made, and it was just so funny because, just the sounds, and it was so overpowered, pretty much like OP, the way Brutal Doom is OP. It was like that compared to every other game that was out. So we knew it was going to be just insane, and it was like everyone was so excited that when we were uploading it on May 5th, it was like 4 in the morning when we uploaded it to the BBS. We were up all night, like in the publishing. Scott and George, they came over to the apartment where we had the company, and they were there, at 4 in the morning with us to upload it to the BBS. And we couldn't wait for people to get it, and it was just explosive the next day.
Oh,
it was
man.
nuts.
It's exciting, and I hope that people watching this video get the vibe, right? Because I
ambiente.
feel that I'm not talking with a developer. I'm talking with a real gamer. That's what makes the
Claro.
difference. You guys working all night, getting the game uploaded at 2 a.m. or whatever. That's a gamer. It's not a developer.
Yeah. I mean, we were gamers.
También ahí estoy hablando de algo muy interesante, también es bastante debatible, es una temática bastante complicada. De mucho desarrollador, para hacer un concepto, por ejemplo, de 20 desarrolladores, un poco más de la mitad no eran gamers, sabían lo que era un juego, sabían jugar alguna que otra cosita, no eran realmente gamers. Por eso, muchos de los desarrollos y desarrolladores necesitan tester, como lo que hago yo, que me gusta ser tester. Me siento capacitado para eso. A pesar que siempre hay alguno que critica de ignorancia de lo que hace uno como tester. Yo desarrollo y vos probame el juego. Y hay muchos, de los pocos que conocí, que son tester, desarrolladores y desarrolladores tester. O sea, que prueban su propio producto. Estamos hablando de lo que es la fluidez y el manejo del juego. No, ya de ideas, bueno, ya es otra cosa. Pero es interesante. Es más que obvio que John Romero es un gamer, porque en esa época había gamers de verdad, ¿no? Entre los 70, 80, 90, ahí empezó a declinar un poquito la calidad de los gamers. Ahora se empezaron a quejar de la dificultad de los juegos. Es lo que estaba hablando con unos amigos hace un par de días. Parches para bajar dificultad. Es un tema. Pero está muy interesante la entrevista. Es alucinante. Esto está para verlo más de una vez.
Gamers, we play games all the time. Even while making Wolfenstein.
This is so great, man.
So we shipped the game. Like we uploaded Wolfenstein, but we spent another month and a half getting all the 50 other levels done.
Sí,
and
porque
the hit manual.
El Wolfenstein.
And that all together was like a $60.
Se me había ido el mouse del reproductor. Wolfenstein tuvo muchas actualizaciones. Si se dan cuenta, en las primeras versiones de Wolfenstein tiene un par de opciones de mapas. Después creo que hay una versión que dice Comic Zoom. Tengo casi toda la versión de Wolfenstein que se fueron actualizando. Y otros tienen parches, actualizadores, update. Pero ellos tenían que estar trabajando en añadiendo nuevos mapas. Y si no me equivoco, hubo actualizaciones de actualizaciones porque había unos fallos. Si no mal me equivoco, había un problema en el save state de cierto stage que no se guardaba o generaba un crasheo en el próximo escenario. Pero bueno, tuvieron que arreglar eso. Ahí se dieron cuenta que cuanto más grande la magnitud del juego, las actualizaciones tienen que ser de la misma magnitud. Es un tema. Cuanto es más simple el juego, son actualizaciones más simples, ¿no? Es un concepto básico, pero uno se da cuenta de eso. Se puede quejar de que el juego se ve medio raro, funciona medio mal, pero no se dan cuenta el costo de tiempo, de oxígeno, ¿no? Hay que respirar para hacer todo eso. Dedicándole a un juego, la gente suele criticar la palabra que detesto, que dice que se ve roto, o es un juego rancio. Esa gente la dice los gamers de barrio que no tienen dos dedos de frente. O sea, hay del 100% de gamer que conocí en la vida, un 5% tiene conciencia de lo que es un juego en base a lo que hace un desarrollador. Yo ya me saqué esa personalidad de si yo soy gamer y te preguntan algo sobre desarrollo, no de programación, sino todo lo que sufre en el desarrollo, no sabe nada. Entonces la evolución de un gamer es aquel que ya no ve un juego como un videojuego, sino que ve un juego como algo creado por un desarrollador. Y falta un poco de la evolución en los gamers sobre eso. Y viene el debate y lo que yo hablo viene de cuándo se considera retro y no retro una generación de videojuegos. La generación de PlayStation 2, Xbox Classic, Nintendo GameCube es el final. Pasarán millones de años y no es el retro. Porque desde cierto momento de creación, como está diciendo John Romero, de la creación de un videojuego, estamos hablando de creación de videojuegos, la arquitectura de programación y la arquitectura del hardware y el software donde está ejecutándose ese juego. Terminó todo en la generación de la PlayStation 2, Xbox Classic y GameCube, cuando la Xbox Classic añadió... Hay que decir la verdad que la consola de Xbox Classic es una computadora en forma de consola. Entonces la arquitectura de esa consola cambió antes y después. La Xbox 360, el PlayStation 3 y todo lo que vino después. Si ustedes ven imágenes desarmadas, es una plaqueta de computadora con un procesador. Esa arquitectura marcó la diferencia entre retro y no retro. Después todo lo que existe ahora es lo mismo que PlayStation 3 y Xbox 360. Antes no. Si ustedes ven desarmada una PlayStation 2, GameCube, la arquitectura de programación de la creación, fabricación y la arquitectura de creación de videojuegos con los motores que se usaban es un antes y después entre la generación de PlayStation 2 y la 3 o Xbox Classic y Xbox 360. Eso determina también el concepto de lo que es retro. A pesar de que puede venir alguno haciéndose el sabiondo y no entender lo que es la arquitectura de programación y la arquitectura de la creación de la consola. Se dieron cuenta que el éxito, a pesar de que no tuvo tanto éxito, pero tuvo éxito la Xbox Classic, se dieron cuenta que ese concepto de hacer componentes de computadora dentro de una consola era mucho más rentable que estar haciendo toda una arquitectura de la GameCube con su formita, la PlayStation con su forma, bueno, se entiende, ¿no? Y nada, iba a añadir algo de PlayStation 2. Fue exitosa la PlayStation 2, siempre lo digo mismo, porque se vendió como reproductor DVD. La gente no lo quiere aceptar, bueno. Era superior gráficamente en potencia la Xbox Classic, así que se dieron cuenta que la arquitectura de la creación de consola era muy rentable una computadora. Es más, la versión de Xbox Classic, la primera, la que tiene en forma de X, metálica, era extremadamente cara, tenía muy buenos componentes de computadora y toda la arquitectura también estaba perfecta. Esa X no estaba el PP. Tenía una supuesta refrigeración impresionante. Pero nada, acá viene todo lo que está hablando John Romero y Damián. Todo este mundo, viste cómo fue cambiando. Es alucinante, la verdad que es alucinante. Y sin duda, repito nuevamente, Romero, Karma, los demás eran gamers de verdad, porque acuérdense que jugaban por puntaje. O sea, tenían que estar mejorando su calidad jugabilística. Eso ya no es tan así, ahora más competitivo en otro aspecto y otra forma.
Big giant game, 60 levels in a book. I mean, it was massive. And that was and everybody bought it. Everyone bought the $60. They wanted everything because nobody had seen this kind of thing before.
Right.
So that was great. We put something out there. We put a whole episode out there for people to play for free and give to their friends.
Shareware.
And if they like it, they can buy it. If not, give it to their friends or delete it, whatever. And people loved it. So the goal.
Yo no sé qué iba a decir más adelante de la entrevista, pero bueno, vamos a hablar del tema de los shareware. John Romero y Carmack liberaron una demo, un juego Doom shareware. Se descargaba, pum. No sé si era con instalación. Sí, era con instalación. la comunidad de Doom ya estaba muy fanatizada, que no, es un tremendo juego, modificó el shareware. Y no era para eso el juego. Entonces ahí empezó a aparecer la comunidad, viste, empezar a toquetear algo que no crearon ellos. Tengo entendido que 𝘥𝘆𝘆𝘢𝘄 Romero y otras personas más se enojaron mucho con eso. Entonces la dieron de baja y la descontinuaron. Y después tuvieron que hacer una modificación para el próximo. Fueron actualizando en versiones, ¿viste? Hay un montón de versiones de Doom. Para evitar que la comunidad haga eso, después la comunidad igual metió mano. Si no me equivoco, el shareware se proporcionaba, creo que de dos maneras. Si no mal me equivoco, por revista y había una página oficial que se descargaba el shareware. Pero lo que más tengo en la mente es una revista que venía con una Doom shareware. Que es como una especie de demo, una demo técnica, algo raro, pero es un detalle. No sé si lo van a decir, pero nada. Yo cuando leí eso, yo también estaría enojado, bueno, pero es la comunidad. Es más grande que un desarrollador o 15 desarrolladores juntos.
Goal after that was to get that same kind of experience in the store, and so that's where Spear of Destiny came in. So when we finished the game, and I think it was a month and a half. It was like the end of June, I'd say, when we finished, and then we took our 2-week vacation probably until the middle of July, and then we came back and we started working on Spear of Destiny. So that took us to the middle of September, and I think we finished on September 18th. And that was when we gave the discs to FormGen, which was in Canada, so they could replicate it and get that into the Sphere of Destiny boxes, which were pretty cool boxes. They had like a holographic foil on the front and everything. It was pretty neat. And then, like we didn't really need John to work on that project because it was just like data. We were using the Wolfenstein engine. It was like a lot of art, new levels, bosses and stuff. So we didn't need John to do really anything. So he could actually spend time working on the next technology upgrade. And so he did that. He worked on the Wolfenstein engine to upgrade that technology. And he added fog and higher ceilings and sloping floors and all kinds of stuff. But it didn't feel like the next leap of tech. It felt like an upgrade, but not like the next crazy jump. So that was...
Es lo que sucede actualmente, no hay un salto. Si hay salto generacional... No sé si salto generacional. Hay más procesamiento, más RAM, bla bla. Pero realmente todavía no llegamos al salto del píxel, del polígono, de todo. Estamos todavía esperando que en algún momento suceda. Es lo que la gente cree. Que no, esta no es nueva generación. Es una generación evolutiva de lo que pasó en PlayStation 3 y Xbox 360. Y algo que dije antes sobre la arquitectura de programación de los videojuegos, tanto consolas. Uno puede decir, no, pero la Nintendo Wii es de la generación de Xbox 360. Claro, es verdad, igual que la PlayStation 3. La Nintendo Wii, si se dan cuenta, tiene arquitectura de programación y de creación igual que la de GameCube. Está el Metroid, que salió para Wii, que fue cancelada para GameCube. Si ustedes se dan cuenta, la arquitectura de la consola es compatible, tiene una retrocompatibilidad impresionante. Es más, hay una Wii que venía con los adaptadores de los joysticks de la GameCube, porque hay que decir la verdad, la Wii es un update del GameCube. Entonces iría en la parte de lo que es retro. Se corre la generación de PlayStation 2, Xbox Classic y GameCube, y después viene PlayStation 3 y Xbox 360. Entonces la Nintendo Wii, que es de esta generación, se corre la retro por el tipo de programación. Es una evolución de la GameCube. La Nintendo DS también es de la generación esta, y se corre la retro porque la arquitectura de programación de los juegos y la creación del hardware y del software era de cartuchos. Entonces estaba ahí. Y es que lamentablemente hay que decir eso porque estoy en un grupo llamado Retro Video Gamers y se dice que esa está PlayStation, pero la Nintendo Wii entra y la Nintendo DS entra. No queda otra.
That was... We didn't throw it away. We actually licensed it to Raven Software for a game called Shadowcaster. and that was the only game that used that in between engine. But he basically decided to really go the next level. We could not use the same data style of world representation, which was a 2D matrix at the time for Wolfenstein. Like pretty much every game, every Commander Keen, you name it, it's just 2D matrix. Right. And we could not use that for the next game. We needed lines that could have data on them for like texture and offset values, and we needed lights and all kinds of stuff, height, you know. And so that was what how he started architecting the Doom engine, was to basically just forget Wolfenstein, forget that whole engine, you know, that engine era, and begin the new era with a whole new data structure. And that's how he came up with the data structure that Doom uses.
And how was the development? Because other than the textures, I mean, I guess you faced many challenges, or maybe not, right? Because again, it's a different, not only development, another engine.
Everything.
So how was it? How was the experience? Yeah.
Everything. We did everything different with Doom. So, in the spirit of let's just start over again, 100%. The same way that we kind of started over when we started making Wolfenstein. That's like, with Wolfenstein...
Me mata como Damián se mueve, se rasca, está de emoción, boludo. Yo estoy igual acá en mi casa y no estoy ahí haciendo una entrevista a John. Me mata como se pone todo así, se mueve. Capo, Damián, sos un capo, boludo.
That was the game where we were done with soft disk. So we did not need to do anything for them. So we could spend as long as we wanted on our next game, and that was Wolfenstein. So that game was 100% as long as we wanted to make it, and we made it in 4 months. And then we spent the other month and a half. There's only 5 of us, right?
That's insane. That's insane,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, that was what we did. We lived to make games. So
and I guess there was after the development. There were a lot of expectations from your side, right? So you released the game with probably questions, right? More questions, and oh man, what's gonna happen?
Yeah, we changed everything for Wolfenstein. So we were used to like, well, let's dump what we've been doing for a whole year and a half, really, which was 2D side-scrolling games. Let's dump that whole thing.
Bueno, ahí viene también un tema interesante. Si yo me la paso haciendo cierto tipo de juegos con cierto tipo de tecnología, cierto tipo de mecánicas, la evolución, en el caso de estos John, crearon o se acercaron a la creación de una nueva generación. Estamos hablando de videojuegos, no de tecnología. Bueno, también crear un motor nuevo no es poca cosa. La mente de tu desarrollo cambia. Por eso hay muchos desarrolladores que arrancan o solo se dedican a hacer juegos 2D, porque no tienen esa gran capacidad para meterse en un mundo de 3D. O sea, no es fácil. Es muy interesante.
And go all in with 3D. We're done with 2D. So that was huge. And during Wolfenstein, we also moved, while we're making it, we moved the whole company down to Dallas. And and so that was huge. Then when we were then after we finished with Spear of Destiny, at the very end of 1992, we were thinking about the Doom engine, starting to come up with those ideas for what could the game be. At the end of November, started to work on the Doom Bible, which was the design doc for Doom. We moved the company into an actual real office building, which was the Black Cube. So we were doing really, really well. We had brought on
Esta foto es icónica, boludo. Esta foto cuando la vi en internet la primera vez fue una locura. Qué buena foto, boludo. Hay que apreciar la foto esta vez. No solo es de época, no solo... Yo he visto muchas fotos de desarrolladores de videojuegos cancelados, que se pelearon entre ellos. Montón, cientos de fotos. Y yo veo estas cosas y te metes y en ese momento, en esa situación, la pared blanca, la remera que tiene cada uno, la ropa, y te das cuenta de lo que estaban viviendo en ese momento, cómo charlaban. Yo me metí en esto de desarrollo como ideólogo y es charla constante, siempre sea buena onda el desarrollador, porque tenía muy mala experiencia, malísimas experiencias de desarrolladores que no saben trabajar. Y a mí me encantan estas fotos. No solo un viaje en el tiempo, sino es un viaje en ese momento justo. Y lo que sucede, lo que va a suceder días después. Estas fotos son una gloria. Tener una foto original así, vale fortuna.
And Kevin on April 1st,
Estamos hablando del rollo de foto, ¿no? Porque las copias se valora por el negativo, ¿no?
about a month before we had launched Wolfenstein, so we had 2 new people. We were only 4 people, so we went 50% up in size. So we got to 6 people, and so and we were doing so well because we had basically kept our salaries just flat. Like the 4 of us were at minimum, but Wolfenstein was insane. So we finally gave ourselves a raise. And then I think about 4 months later, we did another raise because it was just going crazy town.
Up.
Yeah, it was just going up. So we're like, let's give ourselves another raise. So we gave ourselves another raise, and all of this stuff happened at the end of 1992, getting in a real.
Mira esta foto, boludo. Te tengo que ver de cerca la pantalla. Qué facha tenía Romero cuando era joven, ¿eh? Tenía una presencia de un tipo medio loco. Qué buena remera, qué las remeras, hola.
Office, furnishing the office. Then we decided, how are we going to do Doom? Brand new engine. We're going to develop on a completely different computer. We're not even going to use PCs anymore to develop. We're going to make games for the PC, but we're going to make them on a new computer called the Next Step computer, which is a different operating system. Today, Next Step is OS 10, Mac OS. So Mac OS was Next Step. And so we were using basically Mac OS back then in 1992.
Otra vez, ¿no? Apple.
So we got the computers that would run this operating system. We needed to write the tools, like to do everything. We decided, instead of having the artist pixel click and create every single weapon and every animation by hand, why don't we scan stuff in?
Uy, las fotos pasan rapidísimo. Mira lo que es ese entorno laboral.
With a video camera, now that we have these really powerful.
Qué buena foto. Qué buena foto, me encanta.
Computers that can do anything with video.
For real?
Right?
Is that what you did?
Yeah, so we got a video camera, and we had it pointed at a wall that had a rotating cylinder kind of thing on it, and we basically, Adrian created the.
Mirá lo que es esto. Creo primero el varón del infierno. Oh, mirá, Elix. Tremendo este personaje. Ahí está lo que yo me gusta. Que me gusta en el sentido que me apasiona y tengo muy buenas ideas. Eso ya de la ideología. Diseño de personaje, estilo. Yo no sé dibujar, pero lo plasmo en palabras, ¿no? Es algo que me fascina a mí. Yo soy más game design como en ideología, ¿no? En ideas. Esto me encanta.
The Baron of Hell first, and so he made it out of clay, and put it on the table, and we basically take a screenshot, and we rotate it an eighth, and take another screenshot.
Claro, fotogramas.
Rotate it 8 times, take pictures of every single rotation. Then he has to animate it.
Fotogramas.
Frame and do that whole process all over again. But just imagine having to do it with pixel clicks and create.
No sé si son frames, porque los frames son movimientos de píxeles de digital, creado digitalmente. Fotogramas es algo real, con una cámara enfocando a un objeto real, son fotogramas de película. El que es de giro son frames. O sea, es como hacer un píxel con una mano así, otro girando. Son fotogramas realmente esto. Es una locura.
No, that's what it's crazy.
It's so much work. But we created a whole new way of doing art not just the monsters. We did that with the guns. So we bought toy guns at the store, and we brought them up in front of the camera and took pictures of it, and then just edited those pictures. We did the animation the same way. It was great. It was to scan it. We had not done animation that way either. So this was a much better way to do animation, because there was no such thing as Photoshop. It was very limited back then.
Right.
And so we had a new way of programming the game, a new way of doing all the art. They were still using PCs to do the art editing, because they were using Deluxe Paint 2, which is a PC program. Mm-hmm. But we were using the Next Step system to write the code, to debug it, to do level design. I wrote the @𝑦𝘆 editor on Next Step, so we could use me and Tom could use it to start making levels. And at the same time, like, the other really hard thing was, writing the engine was amazing. Carmack loved writing.
Esta foto. Qué copada.
Writing the engine. There were a lot of technical things that he had to like blast through to make that engine fast and look really good. So one of the things he needed to do was kind of come up with the binary space partition, BSP. So he needed to come up with that idea, which he read a paper that this research scientist named Bruce Naylor had written.
¿Qué dice investigador llamado Bruce Naylor?
And so he found that and decided that he could use that concept and apply it to a level, because that concept was actually made for 3D models. So you don't see the polygons on the back side of a model,
Increíble,
so well, with that data structure, why can't it just do it to a level? So he decided to make it apply to the level, and it made the levels go so much faster. At the same time, the creative side was really difficult, because we didn't have levels that looked like anything new. Like, we were able to use this next generation like editor, but Tom was the one, because I was busy coding that. Tom was the one doing level design. So he was the game takes place on a space base on Phobos, right? And so he got a book for military construction, a book about military construction, and so he was building stuff like the military would build stuff. It was really not good. It was a lot of boxes, it just wasn't interesting. Very square. Most of the light levels were all full bright, like Wolfenstein. The ceilings were at the same Wolfenstein ceiling height, and it was just like, it was hard to get out of that mindset, because we had never seen anything on a computer that looked better. Like, we had never seen anything different. If you go back to every dungeon crawling game that had graphics in 3D on the screen, nothing ever was like the way that Doom looks. Everything was like Wolfenstein. It was like that height, and usually it was in a fixed grid kind of thing. So there were no examples for like an abstract level design style that used the same kind of data structure that Doom had. So one day I finally had to just like, okay, we have to move forward on design. I need to come up with the new idea for how to make our levels look really good. So I just came up with an idea, and I made a room, which is an 𝑦1𝑚2 now, which is the elevator going down into the dark room in the 𝑦1𝑚2 with the two like lit areas up on the top of the imps throwing fireballs and stuff.
Yep.
So I basically made that, and had Tom and the artists and stuff come in and go like, this is what we need to be doing, and they're all like, yeah, that looks cool. So
nice,
that's our style.
nice.
Yeah. So that was the style, and so we started to make levels with like, we need to really push contrast in the heights of areas. So like, corridors, big rooms, dark corridor, light area.
Claro,
outside.
contrastas.
It was the first time we had
Un contraste entre, bueno, no había reflection, no había shining. Se dan cuenta que es un tono más brilloso y más opaco, oscuro. O sea, unas transiciones de iluminación y sombras. Impresionante.
side areas even. So that was really exciting to like show people, even on 𝑦1𝑚1, look at the outside. You can actually go there. There's something you can go pick up. There's some blue armor. You can go get
That's
that.
true.
You know?
I didn't thought about that. That's true. I didn't
so it
think
was
that way.
Yeah, it was. If you went to look at through the window, several things happened. You start the level. You go turn to the right, go look out the window, and go like, oh wow, look, there's an outside. Back in 1993, that was actually crazy.
Claro.
So you look outside, and it's like, wow, that's amazing, and you see a fireball coming towards you, because there's an imp in that other room who threw a fireball, and you're like, what is that thing? You know, and you either get hit in the face or you move to the side and go, no way.
Está muy bueno lo que está diciendo John, y es bastante interesante analizar, de que si yo estoy acá, se acerca un objeto, no solo es un efecto de dimensión, porque es acercamiento, de distancia, acercamiento, sino también es una sensación de tridimensionalidad al acercarse a la bola. Es una locura. Realmente no es un 3D, pero da la sensación de tridimensionalidad, de dimensión.
And so you're like, how do I get over there? I'm gonna go kill that guy. You know?
Yeah.
But it was like you get to see, you know, you get to look outside. You see blue armor and that little, you know, slime stuff. Like, what is that? And then there's a fireball, and you're looking at an outside scene which you never saw in Wolfenstein. You know, so just like, wow, there's so much new stuff.
Sí.
Like it was important to put a lot of new wow factor stuff in that first room in Wolfenstein or in Doom to like see that there are ceiling heights and floor heights and there's stairs and there's armor that you can pick up, which you didn't have in Wolfenstein. You know, there's shotgun dudes if you're playing ultraviolence. There's shotgun guys right there. There's exploding barrels. There's a dead Marine right in front of you. You know, there's a lot of stuff to take in that first
Mucho que asimilar.
and you're not really, unless you're playing ultraviolent, you're safe.
Claro, también hay otro detalle importante que es no solamente una escalera vacía y un pasillo vacío, sino que había objetos o manchas, para no decir otra cosa, de qué es. Entonces eso también daba una sensación al jugador de decir, ¿dónde estoy metido? O sea, veo o el cuerpo de un NPC, veo manchas de diferentes cosas, es como que el entorno generaba eso. Creo que también influenció mucho la película Alien, me imagino que todo eso, ¿viste? Es una flashada esto.
In there, you can explore and everything until you open that first door, and then those two dudes, possessed humans, come down, and then you start shooting.
That's awesome, man. And how long were you guys developing Doom?
1 year.
Because 1 year.
Es re poco.
Okay, what a difference, right? 4 months for Wolfenstein, 12 months
Es poco,
for
igual.
Doom, but you guys made the difference, right?
Yeah, we did a lot of work. There was 5 of us making the game for most of the year, and the last 5 months or 4 months was we added one more person, and Tom left, and then Sandy came in, and so we were at 6. We shipped the game with 6 people.
Wow. And okay, the game is done, out there in the market. When did you guys realize that it was a success? A game changer, I would say.
We knew it was a success before the game.
Sí, es lo que acabo de decir. Es lo que acabo de decir. Ellos sabían de lo que habían creado, de lo que habían desarrollado. Sabían que no había otra cosa en el mercado, ya sabían que era un éxito. Al menos que los gamers tengan una cosa rara en la cabeza y digo, no me gusta. ¿Qué pudo haber pasado? Porque la industria de los autos pasó que había empresas que mostraron conceptos y autos muy avanzados, como esos autos eléctricos en los 90, y a la gente se fascinó muy poca y la mayoría no le importó. Aparte, acaba de decir lo que yo dije antes que lo diga, que ellos tenían una noción del mercado. Tenía conciencia y conocimiento de la existencia del mundo gaming. Sabés que tenés un éxito cuando tenés un concepto de eso. Por eso uno puede diferenciar entre buenos juegos y malos juegos, pero eso no quita que sean realmente malos o muy buenos, siempre y cuando, y teniendo siempre la idea de que hay gente detrás de un videojuego. Vos decís, cheque, ¿por qué este juego? Ese juego lo hizo una persona, se tomó su tiempo, la idea, las ganas. No hay que despreciar a los videojuegos por lo que son, sino darle valor a la persona que hay detrás. Lo mismo que pasó con el juego de ET de Atari. Una porquería. No es una porquería. Vayan ustedes a esa época a hacer un juego así, con la presión que tenía, con el poco tiempo que tuvo. No lo va a hacer nadie.
Yeah, we knew it. I mean, we were trying to finish the game, and we were getting calls at the office asking us when it was going to ship, and it was like, how do you even have this number? We never put our number out there for anybody. People were trying to find us, and then when we were trying to upload it on the internet, we couldn't even get into the channel to upload it on the FTP site. It was packed full of everybody waiting to download it. And then when it downloaded, when we finally, they had to kick everybody off twice so we could actually upload the thing. And when we uploaded it, everybody downloading it crashed the server, the FTP site, 2 times. So we knew it was going to be insane, right?
¿Será la versión shareware que digo yo? Estoy en duda, Puede ser la shareware esta, Si no me equivoco, es la versión shareware.
And then we put it on the BBS.
Absolutely, man. And so, for can I switch a little, and because I put together some photos, and I want to get your reaction. let me do this. Okay, look at that guy.
Qué capo, mira lo que es eso, boludo. Mira la computadora, el teclado, la lapicera. Qué gloria, es lo que acabo de decir, es una gloria esto. Hay que meterse, hay que ver más allá. Es como el arte, si la gente le gusta el arte sabe lo que estoy diciendo. Es meterse en ese momento y todo lo que dije recién. Es un montón de aspectos bastante detallistas. O sea, te tiene que dar la cabeza para decir, es una simple foto, ¿no? Usar la mente que proyecta muchas cosas.
Yeah, 𝘰𝘭𝘶.
Oh, that's the level, okay.
Yep, that's the level that I was working on.
Okay.
So you can see that. If you've ever run MS-DOS, that can't happen on MS-DOS, right?
Right. No, absolutely.
Even though that computer looks like a PC case, when it had PC hardware, it was running a totally different operating system, and it had to have the correct chip, it had to have the correct kind of hard drives and everything, because it only had device drivers for a limited number of peripherals and that.
Sí. Eso se terminó en la informática, necesitaba cierto tipo de capacidad de disco, algunas casos alguna que otra marca, era una locura. O sea, me sucedió una vez de que usé una computadora y quise instalar algo y me decía que no tenía espacio y en realidad tenía espacio, lo que pasa es que estaba detectando un disco incompatible en la capacidad, una belleza eso de informática.
Kind of stuff. So we had to make sure that we had the right peripherals and the right hardware for the drivers for that operating system.
Just
una locura.
Here, who broke the door?
That was Carmack.
Qué buena foto.
I was in my room working on levels with my door closed because I was playing I was playing loud music.
But this is in Doom 2, right?
That was during. Let me think. I'm
just guessing because he's holding
Doom 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. It must have been after Doom 2.
Yeah.
It was probably during 1995. Like we might have been working on the Ultimate Doom.
Okay.
And anyway, I was in my room and I was gonna leave, and the door handle just kept on rotating, and so I couldn't unlock the door, and I was just like.
Bueno, yo tengo una puerta acá, la tengo que arreglar en estos días. Hice así, bueno, tiene una manija redonda. No, tiene una manija plana. Sentí que me quedé encerrado. Tuve que hacer una cosa, una palanquita con el pestillo y estaba solo. Me imagino la desesperación. No es desesperación, sino digo que se rompa la manija con la puerta abierta, ¿viste? Qué buena anécdota esta.
I called John on the phone, the actual hardline phone, and I said, dude, my doorknob is screwed up. It will not turn. It's turning, but it won't open the door. What if you just chop the door down with your axe? That would be awesome. And he's like, all right. I said, just chop it down. Let's get rid of this stupid door so it's over. So he just grabbed it off the wall and he just started chopping the door down. And I had to get up against the wall where the door was because those pieces of wood flying across the room into the wall. So I had to do that until we could actually get the door.
Esto es como la escena de Shining de la película, una locura. Y se tiró un comentario así, Damián. Es de Shining.
Off.
Oh man, I love knowing the story behind the picture. Here.
Yeah. That was Wired magazine, I think.
Picture for a magazine. When I saw this photo, what the first thing I thought, of course, first I was like, man, such cool guys. They were They were on magazines. They were probably as cool as rock stars back in the 90s with yes. So, and I want to know if that was the feeling you got. But before that, who has these two figures? Do you know that?
What about those two? Where are they right now?
Yeah.
They're in software right now. They're
still
they're
sitting
in
there.
cases. Yeah, they're in cases. They still have them.
Amazing.
Qué locura.
Amazing, man.
That
was my first.
¿Sabes lo que debe salir eso? Es una locura. Tiene un valor, yo creo que de millones de dólares. O sea, no tiene precio. Son las originales hechas y creadas por ellos, tocadas por ellos, manipuladas, y el concepto de creación. Impresionante.
The mastermind, yeah.
Yeah, the moment I saw this picture, I was like, man, where are these two figures that are part of the history, right?
Yeah, they're at id, right?
Y Damián, como fanático coleccionista de figuras de acción y todo eso, se vuelve loco. Le habrá tirado a John Garche, las vendés. Qué capo que es Damián.
Now in the office in Richardson, Texas.
Wow. Again, the feeling, this photo, I mean, looks awesome. Cool style, the colors, long hair, and going back to what I just said.
Le dice cabello largo Damián a John Carman, y John Carman sigue usando pelo largo. No, viste que los cantantes de los 80s, 90s se tenían el pelo largo acá y ahora los ves cortito, viste, normal. John Carman se mantuvo en la onda, muy bien. Aguante el pelo largo, aguante el pelo largo. Ahí tengo una gomita, pero es la onda.
And my reaction seeing this picture is like, man, these dudes were enjoying life as rock stars. But I want to get your reaction. Was that the level of, I don't know, success, or name it whatever you want, but was it that cool?
Yeah. I mean, we were on top of everything, you know. Yeah. The funny thing is, like, we just worked all the time. Like, we were still making games constantly.
Right.
That was in 1995 when this picture was done. I'd say, well, probably the end of 1994. The picture came out or was taken. Yeah, January.
Qué buena memoria.
The picture was taken at the end of 1994, and they decided to put us on the cover. And I don't even know if we knew that we were going to be on the cover, but they came out and did an interview, and they took a bunch of pictures, and lit up, had a purple flash and all that kind of stuff. And we had Ferraris. It was like, we're running our own company. We're making games all day.
La famosa Ferrari de John Romero. No sé si le pregunta acá. Yo hice otra pregunta, pero bueno, no quería enfocarme en la Ferrari. Aguante Ferrari. Aguante Lamborghini también. Pero ellos tenían John tenía una Ferrari. Qué guacho.
We're like listening to whatever music we want and just drinking, Dr. Pepper or Diet Coke all day.
And how old were you guys here?
Let me see. I was 27 right there.
So, man, such a cool. I can only imagine the feeling. Is that you?
Yeah, it's from.
Este es el famoso Easter egg, que hasta el día de hoy no se sabe si hay una manera de entrar ahí adentro. No sé si me estoy equivocando en lo que estoy diciendo, porque lo que tengo entendido se descubrió con la cámara libre, pero me parece que derrotándolo a John Romero se terminó el juego más fácil. No sé si me estoy confundiendo, no me acuerdo tanto, pero es interesantísimo. Es un Easter egg. Es un tremendo Easter egg.
From the picture, just a couple ones ago, when I was on the pool table with the two monsters, the picture that's not me screaming like that is the picture from that picture.
Oh, okay.
So when you see me when you're not shooting me, my face and that sprite comes from the picture that you showed on the pool table.
Okay, because I knew about the sprite, and they put I understand they put.
Qué detalle eso. Está utilizando el spray de una imagen de otra y el movimiento es otra cosa totalmente diferente. Yo pensé que estaba todo unificado. No sabía eso. Impresionante.
Your face as a joke. You were not aware, right?
Yeah. I wasn't aware until I saw it.
Right,
So they were hoping that the game was going to get launched, right? The game is going to go out, and then everyone's going to find this, and then I'm going to find out when everyone else does, and then it's like, ha ha ha, look what we did. But I found out before the game ever came out, and I left it in there.
That was pretty cool, man. That was pretty cool. Okay, thank you for that. Let's go back to on track with Doom, right? So,
Yeah.
Doom was already out there, all as succeeds. When did you guys started to work on Doom 2? Because you were, what I understand is that
Immediately.
Doom 1, yeah. And my question is, why? Because when reading and watching YouTube videos, my perception was they didn't have the time to enjoy the success of Doom when they already started to work on the second one, right? That, again, maybe I'm wrong, but that was my gut feeling.
So we made Doom. We shipped it on December 10th, or uploaded on December 10th. We had another company fulfilling orders, right? So people could call a 1-800 number and fulfill. People would get the box version of Doom sent to them from this company. It was called Digital Magnetics at the time, and then we switched to a different company called StarPack in Colorado, like probably a year later. So we could go on vacation for a couple weeks, come back. It's the beginning of January. Doom is blown up all over the place. It's just crazy, and we're like, okay, let's start talking about the next game. Because like, what are we gonna do? Just sit around all day long? But I mean, we're here to make stuff. This is a business. Like we had an office manager, we had a CEO, we had two tech people, like tech support type people. We had a bunch of now we have people who don't own the company there that we're paying salaries to. Like they have to, everyone has to work on stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's a real business at this time. And at that time, geez, how many people? There were 6 of us, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 total, including tech support and everything. So, in Donna was there at the beginning of 1994, and she is still there today. She is still at the company. She's the longest serving person at id Software. So Donna's still there 31 years later. Yeah, and she, Kevin had just Kevin retired a year ago, so she has another year or so before she beats Kevin's record, because he came there in 1992, so he is actually the longest serving, but she will beat that record in a year or so.
Wow, wow.
I know, but so basically it was like, here's what we do. Like our method at that time was to put out a shareware game.
Ahí está, la versión shareware.
And then put out a retail version of that game. And so we started doing that with Wolfenstein officially. We did it actually. I think Keen happened. We did that with Keen, actually. Commander Keen, the second set of Commander Keens, we put out a retail Keen. Shareware Keen and a retail Commander Keen. Then with Wolfenstein, and then Spirit of Destiny. Then we put out Doom, and then we're like, let's do Doom 2. That'll be the retail one. And so we did a deal with GT Interactive. It was a new company. And we're going to put out Doom 2. They're going to put it in all the stores and all the shelves, and then we're going to start working on our next game. So Doom 2 was supposed to be in the stores, and so we started working on it immediately in January. We got done in August, so it took us 8 months to make it. That's like all the new monsters, 32 new levels, intermissions. We didn't have episodes anymore, so we just had to break it up a little bit with some intermissions, giving you a little bit of story update. New weapon. And we basically decided the formula for Doom was perfect. Do not violate that formula; it's critical. So that was important. So we kept that, and we just added to it. We did not violate it. and so when it came out, it was great. I mean, we were really happy. We handed it off to GT.
Success.
Yeah, it hit the stores September 30th. We did a Doomsday release on October 10th in New York City at the Limelight, which at that point was a church. Well, it's a nightclub. It's a church that was turned into a nightclub. So we did our event there, and it was massive. You know, then we started planning for Quake after that.
There's a video of Bill Gates using.
Ahí va mi pregunta. Gracias, Damián. Esta pregunta tengo que sacarme el crédito. Esta pregunta se la mandé yo por WhatsApp. Bueno, después se la mandé por Instagram porque tenía planeado algo. Creo que veo que no lo hizo Damián, pero el juego es el juego. El video es impresionante. Esta pregunta es mía. He visto muchos videos raros de promocionales. He visto muchos videos. Soy muy navegador de internet. Soy amante de Doom. Soy amante de los first person shooter. Así que esta pregunta Damián se la tenía que hacer sí o sí. Y es un placer para mí. No sé si las preguntas antes fueron de ellos o de alguien, pero nada, agradecido por la oportunidad que me da Damián de poder participar, de interactuar con sus videos. Así que mil gracias, Damián.
Doom to promote. I guess correct me if I'm wrong. Windows 95, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Windows 95.
So,
yeah.
Were you guys aware about that, or you just realized
Nope.
it? You were not aware.
No, he just did it.
Yo le hice esta pregunta a Damián porque nunca encontré información concreta de cómo fue. Yo le dije a Damián, esto fue idea de ambos, bla bla bla. Me estoy quitando la duda ahora. No sabía nada.
How was the feeling of seeing? I mean, Bill Gates using your creation to promote Windows? Was it great? I guess, right?
It was great. Yeah, totally great.
Wow.
I think Doom was installed on more computers than Windows was at
Right.
Yeah.
¡Qué locura!
Yep.
For you, Bill Gates. I love it, man. I love it. So I really want to be respectful of your time. So I'll try to just 5 minutes or less than 10.
Okay.
How do you see the gaming industry today?
Oh man, it's huge.
I know.
It's massive.
VR. I don't know.
It's packed. Yeah, there's a lot of consoles, but there's some incredible design happening. The technology is unbelievable. You know, like anybody can make a good-looking game now. You don't even need to be a developer. If you decide that you want to become a developer, you can start making a great-looking game by downloading Unreal 5 and just start putting stuff in it.
Bueno, ahí John acaba de decir que Unreal Engine, también el Unity, no es malo Unity, sé que todo pasó esta polémica, pero ya eso se solucionó. He conocido muchos desarrolladores con los que me hablo, no me hablo ya tanto, o casi nada, que se dieron de baja de Unity. Es más, acá en un evento de la Indie Game Argentina el año pasado me quedé hablando con desarrolladores y decidieron cambiar de motor, de engine, pero nombró el Unreal 5 por alguna razón. Debe ser por lo obvio que estoy hablando.
Looks great. You know, it's nuts that anybody can make a game today, that all the information that you need is on the internet for free. Free engine, free learning.
Bueno, se puede hacer motores gratis, pero en Unreal Engine 5 el Pro no es gratis y es bastante costoso. Pero sí acá está Construct, Unity, bueno, en HTML se pueden hacer un montón de cosas. No me acuerdo el otro cómo se llama. El Game Maker es más simplón, pero se pueden hacer maravillas. Bueno, el argentino, ¿cómo se llama? Ay, se me fue el nombre. Godot. Con Godot también, representación argentina. Estuve el año pasado en una charla de Godot que está subida a mi canal. Ahí la voy a dejar en alguna parte del video para que la vean. Se ha actualizado mucho el Godot, así que es un buen engine también. La verdad que es un orgullo tener personas dedicadas a la creación de un engine en la que muchos se fueron de Unity y se fueron a Godot. Buena decisión. Por esa parte aprovecharon una buena oportunidad para incrementar la popularidad del Godot.
It's all about your time. And what it comes down to is game design. If you don't have a great game design, then you'll be making a game like everybody else. You know, like that's what it's like when you're first starting to make a game. At some point, you'll start to design stuff that people haven't seen before. Maybe you're going to create something new, like a new style game. It's pretty rare to do that, but there's tons of indies trying every day, and they're doing unbelievable work, like Blueprints right now.
Bien, Ponchón. Nombró los indie games. Para cualquiera que quiera dar cátedra, información, idea y enseñar, abarque el indie game, señores. No estoy hablando específicamente, no voy a dar nombre ni nada por súper obviedad. Pero el indie game es parte de la industria. Genera millones y millones de dólares en la industria. Es el fuerte de los videojuegos. Sorry. Conozco gente que se le pregunta de indie y es... O sea, puede decir, es tan bueno. Defiende los AAA. El indie es fuerte. Yo soy amante de lo indie. Yo lo que hago es... Soy preservador y coleccionista de videojuegos digitales. Tengo muchos terabytes de juegos de indies de diferentes partes del mundo. Algunos cancelados, otros prototipos, betas, demos. Colecciono todo. Y el indie es muy pesado. No es lo mismo comparar un juego creado por 50, 100, 200, 500 personas que uno creado por uno, o por dos, o por tres, como por ejemplo pasó con Cuphead, que lo hablamos con unos amigos hace unos días. No digo que hay que agarrarse de que ellos hipotecaron, sino de que hicieron un gran videojuego con mucho esfuerzo. Entonces el indie es algo que tiene que estar en el paseo de la fama, por así decirlo, en el pasillo con todas las estrellas. El indie es el indie. Muchos juegos arrancaron como indie y después vino un publisher, una empresa AAA y no deja de ser un indie proporcionado por una AAA, ¿no? O sea, puede haber un indie impresionante en PlayStation 3 o 360, como sucedió, que ahí estuvo el fuerte del indie. No había indie en generaciones anteriores, salvo en los 90, 80, que habían algunos que otros que se separaron o renunciaron a cierta empresa y hicieron su propia empresa. Se los puede considerar indie. Pero nada, felicito realmente a John Romero por haber nombrado el indie, que es... ¿Quién más que John Romero para hablar de indie? Ahí le tapa la boca a un montón de gente que está hablando desde hace un par de meses muy largo de que el indie es una porquería, o que el indie no se tiene que incluir, o que un indie no tiene que superar un AAA. Ahí determinamos quién es gamer y quién no es tan gamer en lo que es conocimiento, como dije hace un rato. La conciencia de la existencia de la existencia de los videojuegos en general. Te das cuenta que el indie aparece en un momento en la historia cronológica de los videojuegos y es algo revolucionario. Phil Fish, el creador de Super Meat Boy o Meat Boy, que no me acuerdo ahora el nombre, entre otros. El de 𝘵𝘂𝘕 es el mismo que Meat Boy, que en realidad es Meat Boy porque es un juego Flash que después saltó a Super Meat Boy, entre otros. Bueno, el 𝘵𝘩𝘄 o el 𝘵𝘩. Bueno, todos esos son el Pitiry 1975, que se llama el juego. Conozco. Yo arranqué mi fuerte a preservar y coleccionar juegos digitales en la época del fuerte del indie. De PC, obviamente. También tengo juegos indie en mis archivos digitales. Pero el indie es mi fuerte. ¿Por qué digo que es mi fuerte? ¿Y por qué digo que hay que darle valor al indie? Porque es todo Sonic, Mario, todas cosas muy populares y de moda. Dentro de lo que son Mario, Sonic, no sé, personajes como God of War, Snake, hay un mundo enorme de videojuegos interesantes que no son conocidos y que no son AAA y que no son una representación de una empresa wow. Y yo tengo el conocimiento en mi cabeza de lo que recuerdo. O sea, tengo los recuerdos. O sea, me puede mostrar una imagen y puedo saber si lo tengo o no lo tengo en juego o qué juego es. O Mega Man. Fuera de todo eso hay un enorme mundo gigantesco. O sea, yo siempre cuento lo mismo. Encontré un videojuego hace como 4 o 5 años de un desarrollador, no sé si era de Noruega, Suiza, alguna parte europea, que es un tipo que hizo un videojuego indie, o mezclado tipo fan game, porque está indie game, indie fan game, indie retro new, indie pixel retro, bla bla. Hizo un juego de plataformas 2D, indie fan game, de los juegos de los muñequitos de Playmobil. Ese juego es alucinante. Y me obsesioné tanto hasta que lo pude conseguir, porque ese juego solamente se puede jugar en navegador. Es una buena manera de proteger los juegos, pero bueno, yo por suerte lo logré tener. Si uno muestra un juego a alguien, che, ¿este juego cuál es? Hay mucha gente que me ha preguntado a lo largo de mi tiempo en internet, que he publicitado juegos sin nombre, imágenes o videos. Un montón de gente. ¿Qué juego es? ¿Cómo se llama? Y bueno, hay gente que se enoja porque no le das el nombre, ¿viste? A veces me colgaba, a veces lo hago a propósito. Así que, nada. El indie game, aguante el indie game. Hay que darle más valor a eso. Hay mucha gente que le gusta el indie game, hay mucha gente que no le gusta el indie game. Pero una cosa es que no le guste y otra cosa es desprestigiar al indie game, me parece un error fatal.
Now is like the big one after 𝘏𝘁, which was insane.
Yeah.
I'm still playing 𝘏𝘁 every day. You know, like
Yeah.
Blueprints is the latest obsession for like the whole company right now.
Yeah.
Because I have like 100 people working on my new FPS, and there's a lot of them that are playing Blueprints right now.
Wow. And with this, because from my perspective, right, with this VR and the AI as well, where do you think the game is going? It will be all VR in the future? What do you
Nope.
think about that?
No, it's not. VR is like a console. It's just another console. You choose to...
Tienes razón. A ver, vos decís, no, el VR es un periférico. Sí. Inició como una idea, un concepto, un proyecto Estamos hablando del VR de Sega, el VR de Atari. Después vino la Virtual Boy. Y vos decís, la Virtual Boy es una onda de VR. Una onda, ¿no? Un periférico, por ejemplo, la Wii consola, el periférico de movimiento, se puede transformar. Esto es importante e interesante. Un periférico se puede transformar a una consola. Y eso está muy bueno. Pasás de un aparato de plástico al que el mismo periférico sea el encargado de todo, de un todo. Por eso después las consolas fueron añadiendo sensores de movimiento, como en las consolas portátiles y todo eso. El VR nació como un periférico. Después Virtual Boy intentó el concepto consola VR. Sabemos cómo le fue. Con las limitaciones gráficas, bueno, igual se decía que la Virtual Boy podría haber sido más potente, pero hubiese sido extremadamente cara. Bueno, hay todo un tema. Pero sí, el VR se podía transformar en una consola, tranquilamente. Con todo lo que tenemos acceso a las nubes, que el problema más grande de esa tecnología. Dice, ¿y por qué no existe entonces? Estamos en 2025 y hay muchas partes del mundo donde el acceso a internet es una porquería. O hay caídas por ataques de DOS en todo el mundo. Muchos dicen que Japón, esa historia de que una persona dejó prender una Nintendo SNES durante años es mentira. Hablé con personas de Japón y me dijeron que si hay un sismo o cualquier cosa, un tifón, a veces se corta la luz. Pero bueno, tiene que estar en una parte muy específica de Japón para que pase eso y la persona no era de alto nivel económico para hacer esa posibilidad. Ese es el problema. O los costos elevados como la antena de Starlink, dependiendo de la economía, el PBI de cada país, ¿no? No hay un acceso real a un internet. Como para decir, bueno, ya no hay más consolas, solamente es acceso a la nube y un periférico que el periférico se encargaría de la consola. Está muy interesante que Carmack diga que el VR es una consola. O un nuevo estilo de consola.
This console where, you know, everything is taken up, all your senses and stuff. But it's a very limited time that you can dedicate to it because you get really tired just playing with with physicality. So it's just another console. It's the same way that mobile games, that's another console. The Switch, you name it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Just another
it's a
platform,
different
yeah.
console. Yeah, it's another platform.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Because especially when the games have to be made specifically for it.
What was for you the game, your creation, the one that you enjoyed the most?
It was Doom, definitely.
Doom.
Y sin duda.
Yeah.
Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a lot of
Sin
new stuff when
duda.
we made Doom.
When we were on the high school, there was this computer room, right, for computer classes. My friend and I, we were the tech guys in the class, and we have installed. We had Doom in some of the computers. So some days we were just squeezing on the computer room and playing using serial, and we were playing with other of our friends. It was pretty cool, man. It was awesome.
Bueno, qué suerte
Okay,
tuve.
honestly, I have a lot of more.
Damián tuvo una suerte de poder tener esa interacción con la persona jugando Doom. Yo recién pude interactuar en el Doom después de muchísimo tiempo. No dijo la fecha, pero bueno, interesantísimo eso.
Questions and about Quake and that, but I said an hour, and we're already past. Can I read you a very few questions from my community?
Okay.
Okay. So I have, man, I think because I did a survey on my Instagram stories, and I said, hey, if you have the chance to ask something to John Romero, what would you ask? And brother, I have more than 200, close to 300 messages. So I did my best to put together and summarize. Many people, I have 85 guys saying thank you. 85 guys saying thank you out of these 300. Nice. Many of the questions were already answered within the interview. Would you be willing to be part of another project related to Doom?
Maybe, never say never.
I like the answer. I like
alta respuesta.
Okay. Did you ever thought you were creating a piece of history?
We didn't think that way. I mean, we thought we're all we cared about was we're gonna make a really cool game, and then we're gonna make another game that will wipe this game out. So like when we're making Quake, it's like Doom is dead. Like we're gonna destroy it. It's gonna be awesome. Like every game, like when we did Wolfenstein, screw Catacombs, it's dead. Dude, Wolfenstein's garbage. So we were always about making just the next cool thing and then moving on. We just never thought about that we had hit this point where we were making things that were gonna live on forever. We never thought that.
IDDQD. I guess you know what that is.
Of course. God mode.
Yeah, man. 98 individuals asked if you were happy creating Doom.
Yeah, of course.
And I guess I know the answer.
Sin duda, qué pregunta que se mandaron también.
So much fun.
No me
like
gustó
this
hacer Doom. Qué pregunta, ay Dios mío. Pero bueno.
What do you think about the movie?
Not good. Neither of them.
Thank you for being that polite. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ay Dios mío.
The first segment was interesting, but
Yeah. What do you think about the newest versions of Doom?
I'm excited to play Dark Ages, and I really like the last two.
Yeah,
I mean, being able to resurrect Doom after so long to make something that was like a definitive version for this era was so hard to do, and they really pulled it off.
Where did you guys get the inspiration to create the final bosses on the games? Because that was pretty sick.
Like with Doom 1, the Baron of Hell.
1, 2, yeah.
Yeah, 2 was let's make a whole room that just attacks the player, basically. Like let's make the icon of sin, this huge face on the wall. We can't animate it or anything. Too like the graphics would be insane to try and animate the whole wall. But to have the player would be too busy trying to deal with all the spawning monsters in there. So that was fun. That was like, how do we make something that's like a whole room full of stuff coming towards the player, constant spawning that you have to deal with. It never stops, And so that was really fun. And Doom 1 was just like 2 very tough bosses instead of 1 boss. Let's put 2 in there and like really scare the player, And so
okay, before we wrap up, do you wanna share a current project, advertise something that it's coming?
Yeah, if anybody wants my autobiography, Doom Guy, life in first person, if you want Catacomb 3D, if you want like rare signed Wolfenstein shareware CDs or Ultimate Doom CDs or Doom 2 CDs, all that stuff is on our site. We have like 100 items on our site that are all related to Doom in some way, or Wolfenstein, or just games, or the aesthetic in general. And we add new stuff all the time. So Sigil 1, Sigil 2, which are my episode 5 and 6 for Doom 1, those are on there with, you know, music by Buckethead or music by Thor on Sigil 2. Lots of really cool stuff on the site. And
Excellent.
So check that out.
Nice.
It's all there.
Absolutely, man. So, okay, brother. As I said, this is an interview with a deep meaning to me. So,
Right.
yeah, man, because you never know, right? Years back, I was, I don't know, 7 years old, playing a video game, such a very cool video game, made a connection with my father.
Yeah.
I'm still playing that game, and now I'm talking with the guy who created and put many hours of just happiness out there for people. That's the way I'm seeing this interview. It's such a cool opportunity. You and honestly, let me tell you, you're such a humble individual, man. That I just love you more after this interview. I really want to say thank you so much. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
And if you ever come to Florida, hit me up, brother.
Nice.
Yeah, no
Okay.
problem.
Thank you so much, and I wish you the
Yeah,
best,
thanks.
brother.
Thank you very much. Take it easy.
Y bueno amigos, eso ha sido todo hasta acá. Estoy con mi librito de Doom que me envió John hace unos 2 o 3 meses, hace mucho tiempo que venimos hablando para gestionar esta entrevista. No fue algo de un día para el otro, créanme. Esta entrevista realmente me deja un sentimiento lindo, de felicidad, de que las cosas son posibles. Y mucho de eso quiero agradecérselo a todos ustedes, porque sinceramente si el canal, si bien no somos una comunidad gigantesca, somos lo suficientemente buena o linda como para que tipos como John accedan a tener una entrevista, a darme a mí personalmente la oportunidad de poner la cara y crear el contenido que luego va a estar en internet para que todos ustedes lo vean. Yo sinceramente no sé si este video lo va a ver una persona o lo van a ver miles de personas.
Olvídate,
Pero como
bro.
individuo me quedo con una sensación hermosa y nada me quita este momento en el que pude hablar con una leyenda que dejó su huella marcada en la línea histórica de los videojuegos. Seguro me notaron un poquito nervioso, como dije al principio, realmente lo estaba, así que tal vez me mandé alguna macana con el inglés, o si me trabé un poquito, de verdad sepan entender a un tipo común que simplemente hace esto con amor, con ganas y con buenas intenciones. Eso es todo. Quedaron unas 15-20 preguntas afuera, pero se fue la hora volando y no quería abusar del tiempo de John. Estoy seguro de que personas de afuera habrían agregado otras preguntas, hice lo mejor que pude en el tiempo que teníamos disponible. Y yo repito, sinceramente estoy muy contento de haber tenido esta oportunidad y de poner este contenido ahí para ustedes, amigos. Dicho eso, denme hermano, compartan mi contenido, denle like, comenten, ayuden a que esta comunidad siga creciendo, súmense al Instagram donde podemos interactuar como dije antes, y el resto, amigos míos, ya se lo saben. Dejen un like por acá si este video les gustó, se suscriben por este otro lado y nos vemos la próxima.
Impresionante, man. Bueno, estoy contento porque mi pregunta se hizo, la de Bill Gates, ya sí, estoy contento. Ya con eso empezamos. Y bueno, la entrevista es extremadamente disfrutable, está para verla de nuevo, la voy a ver un montón de veces. Es un placer poder hacer una video reacción de esta entrevista. Gracias, Damián, por confiar en mí, sabes que plena confianza, ya te considero mi amigo. Sos un gran, vamos a decir que streamer, porque esa es una manera de transmitir. Realmente no alcanzo una hora como una persona como John Romero, porque estamos hablando de Quake. Estamos hablando de Quake 3, perdón, del Doom 3, el Doom 4 que se canceló. O había un Doom entre el que vimos hace un par de años. Entre el último Doom hubo un Doom ahí medio como que se filtró unos videos. Después está el Quake 3 Arena. El otro Quake que salió después, que bueno, tiene sus temas. También quedó afuera el tema de ese videojuego que John Romero dio mucha publicidad diciendo que era un juego moderno y bueno, tuvo la crítica que tuvo, no me acuerdo el nombre ahora. Que hay muchos canales de videos tirando mucha porquería, hay que entender, como dije hace rato, el vivir como desarrollador. La verdad que quedaron muchas cosas por preguntar, muchos detalles. Porque el Doom 3 también fue una revolución. Así que... Bueno, el Quake también. El Quake ya tenía Reaccion, tenía unos gráficos tremendos. Yo tengo también muchos Quake ahí en versiones, algunas modificaciones de la comunidad. Tengo ese Quake Arcade. También tengo una anécdota que yo hace un par de años encontré dentro de un disco un Quake 1, obviamente, con toda la arquitectura de ejecución del archivo con el Windows antiguos. Traté de ejecutarlo en Windows 7, que es el que uso yo porque lo estoy defendiendo en Windows 7 y no pude. No pude hacerlo funcionar y tuve que estar leyendo foros re viejos, antiguos. Así que agregué, quité un par de archivos y lo hice funcionar. Y había hecho un meme de los Simpsons haciendo eso, como que me quedé toda la noche haciendo funcionar el Doom. Estuve toda una noche. Vale la pena tener una versión así, viste, realmente. Porque hay para descargar juegos ya creados con una instalación o portables y ya fueron manoseados. Este era un juego que había quedado un disco viejísimo de un montón de años. Así que es impresionante la entrevista, la charla, cómo se puede profundizar en lo que estamos escuchando y viendo. La verdad que es un tremendo entrevista, ¿no? Interview. Así que nada, le acá hago mi humilde video reacción y espero que les haya gustado a todos y no se olviden de seguir a Damián el Cajón Retro, dejar la descripción con la información. Así que nos estamos hablando. La verdad que quedé también emocionado yo, es como si estuviese ahí con Damián acá y John Romero acá. O sea, es una locura. La verdad que te felicito, Damián, y nos estamos viendo. Saludos a todos.